The first one was a hanging. It was a guy I think he'd just got a call from his niece, I think she's about 12, and she couldn't find her mum. So he went to their house and he found his sister, her mum, hanging in the garage, and the child was upstairs. And he didn't want me to hang up, even though he'd come through to the police. We aren't able to give like full medical advice or anything. So the only advice we could give was to try and cut his sister down. And he wanted me to stay on the phone whilst he did that. So I was just like, I can even hear it now, like just listening to him struggling to cut her down. And then also he was really distressed because he didn't want his niece to come down and find her mum at that point. But the niece was coming downstairs. I'm from southwest London. Spent most of my childhood in southwest, Putney, and then Rains Park, which is just by Wimbledon. Early life, not really much to report, really. I mean, I was brought up by a single mum for the first 10 years of my life, and then she met someone and then had 4 children in 5 years, who I love dearly, my siblings. And then I didn't really get on with my stepdad, and I have never had proper contact with my real dad. He, I think, was in my life till I was about 2, and then wasn't very nice and got deported back to Algeria. I think he's been in and out of prison. Yeah, just grew up in southwest. Went to private school. My granddad saved up lots of money to send me to private school to try and give me a good chance at education. Super grateful for that, but had its damaging effects. I think it definitely contributed to not feeling good enough when you're going to school with really rich people in Kensington and you don't have the same amount of money, or you're not necessarily into classical music, so your teachers tell you to stop listening to pop music and that it's not good enough to be listening to that kind of stuff. So yeah, private school, I got a great education, but it was challenging at times. And then, yeah, I went to college, and then began uni. But then I started working in nightlife. So uni sort of went out the door. And I sort of spent about 5 years bartending, bar managing, just drunk really for 5 years. And then, yeah, I sort of was dealing with rude, angry customers, and I was always intervening. And I've always been quite, not gobby, but vocal and not afraid to say what I think. So I thought, what kind of career can I put that into that would be productive? I thought policing. Yeah, I think maybe not having a consistent or a nice father figure has probably contributed to the fact that I am, I'm not, I'm not, I obviously have difficult relationships with men, whether that's relationship wise, just how I see other men. That's probably shaped me quite a bit. I guess a combination of my dad not being good enough, or I'm not good enough for my dad to be good enough as a dad, and then being deported and not understanding why he couldn't just be a good dad, because surely you've had a child, like the child should just be worth it. So I guess that made me feel not good enough. And then I suppose my mum, I guess the child in me processed her moving on with someone else 10 years later, that I'm not good enough, so she needs a new partner. And then I'm definitely not good enough because she's had 4 more children. So I guess that kind of shaped me. And then sort of being constantly thrust into situations in school where I'm competing with people who are much better than me. It's probably not made me feel like I was good enough. So I had a lot of anxiety growing up. And my stepdad was very strange, very weird, made me very uncomfortable. And I always vocalized that to my mum. But my mum's come from a household with many step parents. So the norm is just, well, your parents should be happy. You should just be happy for them that they've got someone. You don't want them to be lonely. So I guess me telling my mum I'm not comfortable at home because of this new stepdad, and then her just ignoring that, I sort of felt, well, definitely not good enough to, I don't know, have my feelings prioritized. So I had a lot of anxiety. I slept on the stairs quite a bit when I was young because I always had this like irrational fear that she would like run away. I guess probably just how I processed my dad leaving as well. So yeah, that probably contributed. I had very bad anxiety and panic attacks in my late teens to my mid-20s. And yeah, not great self-esteem, but that's probably contributed to who I am. I guess I'm very vocal, maybe because I don't know, I'm trying to be good enough. So maybe when I'm stepping in and intervening in things, maybe I'm trying to protect other people because I didn't really feel protected, maybe. Even though that's really dramatic because my mum is an amazing mum. But I guess maybe I just felt sort of just like I floated throughout my early life, just being there, but like I'm not like supposed to be there, or you're not enough to be here, but like we've got you now, so like we'll just carry on with you. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I am this vocal, nosy person because I just want people to be safe and happy, and maybe that's just because I didn't feel it, but yeah, I think that's contributed to who I am. Yeah, so he couldn't communicate with me. He wouldn't talk to me. He would just, I remember the early years of my mum dating him, he would just like appear in the house and would just like buy me a CD, but not engage with me, not communicate with me. Just really, really uncomfortable, unfriendly, really unapproachable, if that's the word. Really just awkward. Like I just felt like it was my mum's boyfriend, but a complete stranger, and didn't want to get to know me or anything like that. Which is like fine, whatever. But as time went on, I noticed like things that just, like at the time I was just like, you're a weirdo, but now I know is like really concerning. But he would talk quite often, like I think I was about 9. He would bring up like, do I watch porn? Do I know if I had sex ed yet? Do I know what sex is? Do I think about sex? All of that kind of stuff. And at the time I was just like, oh, I don't know what you're, like, I don't know. And I remember even to the point, because I used to go to my granddad's, after my stepdad would say these things to me, I'd go and like search it on the internet because I wouldn't know, like, I didn't really know what he was talking about. And I remember it actually gave my granddad's computer a virus because I had to Google porn. I actually even still have the visual of Googling it, and I was absolutely traumatized. Just these weird things. And I remember like my friends would come over, and I just remember he would play with us, but like, I just have this like memory of being in my garden. I don't know where my mum was, but me and my friends are playing, and then he was hugging my friend for so long and like spinning, like hugging her and spinning her. But like it was just so, I can't describe it. It was just really strange. He was doing it for ages and ages and ages and holding onto her really tightly and cuddling her and just really close. And like I would just have my friends over that I wanted to play with. Like I don't know why he would involve himself in that. So just really strange things. And then it just literally got even worse as I grew up, as I I could just, he was not treating my mum very nicely. He just would talk down to her, shit parent, just horrible to my siblings, really. Just absolute freak. And then just would try and, I don't know, he's very aggressive. Not physically in the first sort of 10 years, but like I could just feel like he was just really unpredictable and really unnerving. And I can't describe it. Like it was just a really, really uncomfortable, like nerve-wracking situation to be in when I was left with him, or me and my siblings were left with him. And then yeah, it just sort of escalated as I got older. He would shout at my siblings really horribly, to the point where like if my mum went out, I'd be like, have these terrible knots in my stomach that we were all home alone with him. And I would like try and step in when he would be like doing bedtime, because they're just like, he was a bit rough. So just all of this horribleness. And me and my mum fell out loads because of him. And I'd be like, why do we have to have him in our life? Like, he's so horrible. He's not even really nice to you. Like, I don't understand why we have to have this. But my mum obviously loved him and was with him for a long time and had loads of children with him. So it's not as easy as that. But yeah, and then finally, I mean, I ended up having to move out because it was just getting so toxic, just arguments all the time. But finally in 2019, they split because he had been having multiple affairs, really creepy stuff, and was being really creepy at home with my mum. And then, yeah, he's gone on to have multiple other families and been involved with the police, and just terrible, terrible, terrible person, who I just feel like, and I know the family he had after the family he had with my mum, he's not with them anymore, but I know that the stepchildren in that family felt the exact same as me. So yeah, just a horrible, weird, scary man. Just yeah, so not very nice. No, I haven't even really told my mum. I said that he said some weird things, but I think she just would like, doesn't want to hear it. It's just kind of easier. It's a bit, um, my youngest brother still sees him, and I struggle to understand that, because when you've witnessed someone treat your mum so badly, and you know, even a couple of months ago, my stepdad has sent one of my other siblings like threats to me about me, that I'm getting what's coming to me, but he still wants to go and see him. I struggle with that a lot, and there is a bit of a rift, but I prioritize having a relationship with my brother over letting that get in between. But it does bother me, because for me, I don't speak to my real dad because he treated my mum appallingly. And out of like respect and solidarity, and just to the parent that's raised me and been there, why would I just personally don't understand wanting to have a relationship with someone that treats the person that looks after you and feeds you and cares for you. So yeah, it does create a bit of a rift. And but I try to be less vocal about it. At the beginning, I was like, I don't understand how you can see someone like this is treated us all like crap. He's cheated on your mum, doesn't pay for you. My mum works two full-time jobs, like stressed all the time because of money. Like, we don't have money for food, but you still go and see him on the weekend for like, you know, a coffee if he even turns up. So I used to be really vocal, but now I've just taken a step back, because I don't want to lose a brother over an arsehole. No one inspired me, but like I said before, I'm always been really vocal, standing up for people and just saying my opinion. And I've always been drawn to, like, say for example at school, like if there be an argument, and someone's being mean to someone else, even if I don't know them, I just would go up and be like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? And I don't know where that's come from. Well, maybe I do, but I've just always been like that. And I was dealing with loads of drunk customers in hospitality, and I just thought, I can't do this forever. Like, I'm just going to drink myself to death. So um, I just thought, yeah, policing. And I did always like the idea of being a police officer, but I'm just, I don't know. I think I had a bit of self-doubt, so I just thought I'd go for a call handler first, just to ease my way in. And I don't think I really thought I might be like good enough to be an officer. I don't know. Every time I would always apply, and then every time it got nearly to the end, I'd be like, no, maybe I'm not ready. I'm too young. Like, who's gonna like take a 23-year-old police officer seriously? Like, especially I'm not like that tall, and I'm not really like super scary or like intimidating. So I just thought I'd go through this role, and I saw the 999 call handler job, and I just thought, fantastic. So I applied for that, and that was 2020, just as COVID hit, which was actually really good because hospitality was dying because of COVID. So I left just at the right time. And yeah, I applied, and training was like gruesome, and like, so like you're just having a panic attack every 5 minutes, because even though you take a year to get the job, throughout the training, the 8-week training, it's like you haven't actually got the job yet. So you have to pass this and then this and this. So you never really know if you've got the job yet. But I passed all the exams and the training, and I got the job. And yeah, I enjoyed it for a year or so. But yeah, I mean, I think I had policing in my head for a while. And I suppose also I'd seen quite a bit of policing in hospitality, especially when I worked in nightclubs, fights breaking out, and stuff like that. So I could just naturally landed in it, or sort of was directed to it. So yeah, and then I joined the Metropolitan Police. You'd be doing 12 hours. You just go in, sit at any old desk, got your headset, turn on your system, and press available, and all the calls come in. And you're typically expected to take about 60 calls a day, more if you can. I think you're generally roughly only supposed to be on a call for about 8 minutes maximum. There are certain statistics that you have to meet, so you have to get call information in the first 3 minutes. Which is really difficult when someone's distressed or doesn't know where they are, always panicking, always being attacked. It's completely unpredictable. You're going from 8-minute spans of super high adrenaline to then just like a basic phone theft, to then like a stabbing. Everything is different. Every call is different. You don't know what you're expecting. You have micromanagement from supervisors, always making sure you're taking as many calls as possible. You don't really get time to decompress in between calls, or freshen up, or I don't know, reset. But I mean, if something particularly bad happened, you can take yourself out for half an hour or whatnot. But the day-to-day and the sort of general aspect of it, you just are, it's like on the trot, call. And there's always like a sign on the wall where it says like, 5909 calls queuing, come on. And, so it's quite an intense pressuring environment, and it's isolating. You're with loads of people in a room, but you don't talk to any of them, and you're just talking to these strangers on the phone for 12 hours. And the break system is terrible. So yeah, call handling it's not for the faint-hearted, and anyone that does that and wants to do that for a career, I don't understand it, because it's not an enjoyable setting. The job itself of answering the phone and helping people is fine and really good and really rewarding. It's just everything around it that isn't. But yeah, no, I would deal with all sorts. all sorts of calls, hangings, suicides, robberies, mental health rate crises as well, just all sorts. Then you'd get people call up and just abuse you on the phone. So yeah, it was a chaotic but a really interesting job. I did actually later on move into dispatching, which I much preferred, which was dealing with radios in the offices and not talking to the public anymore. But yeah, call handling was interesting. Do you know? No, I did with there's two calls that stick out in my head, but the rest is a blur. You just take too many. Um, yeah, there's two calls that I remember. The rest can't remember. And even after the day, after that shift, I wouldn't really remember. It's just such a blur. But that's, I mean, I don't know if that's just like my way of processing, just like blocking it all out. But yeah, I didn't take it home. I kind of, maybe it's just like a coping mechanism as well, but I kind of just treated it like not movie, but like, I'm just hearing these things and like I'm just processing information. Um, I sort of not acting because everything was genuine, but like when I'd have to be compassionate or caring to people on the phone, whether it's like a rape or something, I would be that for that call. But then I would just let it go after. I don't know. It just didn't, it was just only two calls that ever stick with me, and the rest, no, I didn't take them home. And now I'm like saying that, I'm just thinking like, am I a terrible person? But then like, I actually just can't mentally afford to take that home. I think if everyone took like 60 calls a day home with them, I wouldn't be able to function. Like it wouldn't be productive, at least for me anyway. And I know there are other call handlers that were particularly triggered by things. And I remember just sometimes thinking like, you can't last long if you're gonna do that. Like have compassion and empathy and everything like that that's needed, but you can't take it home. Like you will just suffer. Um, the first one was a hanging. It was a guy I think he just got a call from his niece, who's, I think she's about 12, and she couldn't find her mum. So he went to their house and he found his sister, her mum, hanging in the garage, and the child was upstairs. And um, he didn't want me to hang up, even though he'd come through to the police. We aren't able to give like full medical advice or anything. So the only advice we could give was to try and cut his sister down, and he wanted me to stay on the phone whilst he did that. So I was just like, I can even hear it now, like just listening to him struggling to cut her down. And then also he was really distressed because he didn't want his niece to come down and find her mum at that point. But the niece was coming downstairs, so he was starting to get really distressed because the child was trying to come into the garage. It was just horrible. And the police took about 15 minutes to get there, which is an immediate response. But on the phone, you feel like it's an hour. And I didn't know what to say. I was trying to be there and trying to help him, and he couldn't cut her down. And I kind of, the natural thing for someone to say is like, it's going to be okay, but I just couldn't even say that. And I felt really bad because I wanted to be able to give like a compassionate and caring response, but I just couldn't, because there was nothing that could be done. Nothing was going to be okay. It felt like forever until the police got there. And a 12-year-old's just lost her mum and he's lost her sister. So yeah, that was horrible. And then the other one, which I'll never forget, it was just the most stressful 45 minutes of my life. A man, he had overdosed, a young man, he'd overdosed, but he wanted to jump into the Thames to I guess, quickly end it because the overdose wasn't as effective. So I was on the phone with him for about 45 minutes because there was no available police or ambulances. I wasn't getting any communication from the control room about what was going on, if it would be like 20 minutes or half an hour. There was just silence. And he was just saying on the phone, I'm slipping away. Like I'm gonna just jump in the Thames and end it. And I just spent about 45 minutes trying to convince him not to. But I didn't know his backstory. I don't know him. So it's hard to try to convince someone to not end their life when you don't know anything about them and you don't know if they have anything to lose or if they have anything to live for, which everyone does, just any life does. But I feel like when you're trying to stop someone from killing themselves, you have to be convincing because they have to believe that that's the right thing to do, is to not end your life. But it's ever so hard over the phone. But anyway, yeah, the police and ambulance took 45 minutes to get there. And he kept saying, when are the police coming? When is an ambulance coming? And I after a while, I was like, I don't know. Because I can't lie to people on the phone. I got to that point where no one was helping. None of the officers were replying. The supervisors on my floor were not helping. No one didn't know what was going on. So after a while, I just said to him, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I'll stay on the phone with you. And then I remember after that call, I just like hung up the phone because he was with an officer then. And I went to the balcony of the office and just had like 20 minutes debrief and just to like separate. And I remember a duty officer came running up and was like, next time you want to go on a break, you need to let us know. And I was like, well, I've messaged on the computer to you multiple times, I need help. And no one answered. So yeah, that was horrible. And no support or anything from, talking to someone who's suicidal for 45 minutes I don't know, but things can rub off. Well, I knew policing didn't really have a good name. So when I joined, I wanted to contribute to being a compassionate, nice, caring employee, a police employee. I knew the relationship between the public and the police was strained, as it always is, I suppose. But I just wanted to try and make that a little bit better. And I always thought change is very hard to start from the outside. So why not join and try and change it from the inside? So that's why I joined and what I thought I could contribute. I mean, I feel like I've always been quite an approachable, friendly, and like compassionate person, and I feel like I have a really good telephone manner, and I just feel like if I could be there at the other end of the phone when someone's like not knowing if they're gonna live or they're going through the worst traumatic experience, I felt like I really could provide a nice, approachable, kind experience. Because I remember a couple of years before I joined, I actually rang the police because my friend was being attacked, and I just had the worst operator on the phone, just really blunt, just like fed up, really just sounded really robotic and uncaring. And I just remember like, you're just like, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to join and I'm going to make sure that people are supported and feel like the person at the other end of the phone actually cares, because that's their first point of contact with the police. And if you're going to have a negative one, it usually sets the tone for the rest of the experience with the police. I mean, I know when I called and I had a really horrible lady, by the time the police officers came, I was kind of just a bit like pissed off with the police already, like, oh great, like what am I going to expect now? Some other officers that don't give a shit either. So yeah, I wanted to contribute to make that better. And just even the thought that there could be horrible people or mean people answering 999 calls, like, just worried me, like, for like my friends and family and just like the general public. So I just thought, well, at least if I can like answer some, then I make sure that 60 calls a day are being answered by someone nice. I don't know. I don't know what I thought it would be like. I thought I would just answer the phone and help people, and that's it. But And that is the job, and that is what it was. But the way it's ran and the micromanagement and the intense pressure that's put on you, like, I didn't expect that at all. About 2 years into it. Yeah, 2 years into it, I was just really sick of, you know, being on the phone with someone for 45 minutes because there's no police and ambulance available, and then getting off that phone call and then getting an email telling me I've spent too long on a phone call and that my statistics are in red and that I could get a disciplinary. You know, that was becoming really tedious. I was getting fed up of, you know, being on the phone to a rape victim, taking vital, critical information about something that had happened, whilst trying to follow a victim's pace as well, whether that's fast or slow. And then having a supervisor come behind me, hovering, wondering what I'm doing and telling me to speed up and wrap up to the next call. So I was getting really fed up and worn down with that. I felt like I wasn't helping people anymore, that I was just providing a service from a business. And I felt like it wasn't, the end goal wasn't to help people, it was just to meet statistics and targets. So I suppose that sort of changed my mindset. And then I suppose when I experienced what I did when I sat next to a colleague that just said the most offensive things, and then reported that, and then it just turned into just such a circus of negligence and racism and misogyny. That's when I just really thought, God, policing is just really effed. So I talk about it a lot online. I mean, a lot of people say it's my identity, but in April 23, I was taking calls and I sat next to a colleague who made a number of offensive remarks, called a rape victim a slut, typed on his phone he wished immigrants would F off back home, mimicked Sarah Everard's death into my ear whilst I was on a 999 call. Just really, really offensive, horrible comments. And then after work, followed my journey home. When I reported that, I suppose, sort of a week after reporting that, I started to see the cracks in the institution and just how much of a circus it is. Because when I first reported it, they said, thank you, we don't have any space for people like this in the police. Like, obviously it's bad. Thanks for raising your concerns. It's, you know, needs to be addressed. So go home and we'll call you and let you know what happens. I never had anything for 3 weeks. I'd even go into work and they'd be like, can you come to this department? And I'd look over there and he would be there. And I would be having breakdowns like, how can you make me work with someone that I've complained with? Like, he knows I've complained now, like he's been told. And even I'd been made aware that he'd been given like a welfare officer because they were scared he was going to hurt himself because he's under investigation. But then I never got anyone or any welfare officer, and they were making me come in and see him. So I just started to see all these imbalances and just complete like neglect. Like, it wasn't easy reporting someone. And also I was very conscious that I didn't have physical evidence because we were just sitting next to each other at work. Like, there's no CCTV. So I had to, so I reported it, didn't hear anything for about 3 weeks, signed off by my doctor because I was just so anxious of seeing him. And it got picked up by an investigation officer. Took about 6 months from reporting to the hearing at Scotland Yard, and he was dismissed for gross misconduct. Was really proud of the police. They were saying that we have no space for racist, misogynistic, sexist, you know, creeps that follow staff home. Even though they didn't actually count the following home in the investigation, they said it needs to happen more than once to constitute as something. But yeah, so they dismissed him. I had to provide like I had to have character witnesses. He tried to say that I was like a malicious complainer that always makes complaints, but they looked on on the system and I'd never made a complaint before. I even had to ask how to make a complaint because I'd never done one before. So just making up all these like false malicious rumours to try and discredit me. I had to give my phone records to them of who I'd messaged to see if I was genuine, like, oh my God, this guy's done this, what should I do? All of that. And it was proven at the hearing and he was dismissed. So yeah, really happy. And they said, you know, he might appeal, but you know, if he does, we'll let you know, and don't worry about that. We don't want him in the police. So I was like, fine, put it to bed. And then, yeah, 4 months later, I got dragged out of work. I was actually dispatching for Croydon, and it was like a hectic day. I just remember it was like such a hectic day. Like there was like 3 officers and like 200 crimes. Like it was just terrible. And I was super stressed. And yeah, I get dragged out for a 5-minute meeting and they say, sorry, he appealed, he won, and he's been rehired and he's been given all his pay that he'd missed out whilst he'd been dismissed, and he's currently enjoying a month of annual leave. And I was just like really in shock. They said, you know, we don't really know what's happened here, but whoever's chaired the appeal has rehired him. So I was like, right, I need to meet this person then, because that's really not normal. So I met the appeal decision maker, who was the director of our whole department. Not a police officer, a very senior, high-ranking police staff. And he said that he believed me, what had happened, that it was still proven, but it's too harsh to dismiss someone who has these opinions, and that you can have any opinion you want in the Met. It's just only when it turns into a physical action that they'll act. He also said that the original panel were too heavily influenced by the Baroness Casey report, which proved the Met to be institutionally racist, sexist and misogynistic. He said that the original panel were too heavily swayed by violence against women and girls. And it's just funny because the original panel that dismissed him were 2 women, and there was a man from HR. So I took that as, you know, they were too emotionally swayed by these reports, like the Casey report and violence against women and girls. So they just felt like they needed to be harsh. I don't know if he'd be saying that if it was a male panel. So yeah, so he rehired him, and then it just got worse, really. There was nothing I could do about the guy coming back. So I had to plead for them to either move me or move him, because I could not possibly work in the same room as this person. Like I just like I can't do that. And they finally were like, fine, we'll move him to another centre. So they moved him to another centre, which, I mean, in my head, I just think you're just moving a problem, really. You're not actually solving a problem, and you're moving him to a centre where he's got like a fresh new identity and people don't know what he's like. But so they moved him to another centre, and I was told that that would be for whilst I was at the Met in this department. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks before I left that I'd found out he was actually returning, and they weren't going to tell me that he was going to be in the same office with me. And that was one of the reasons that like contributed to why I left. But the most corrupt thing I think that happened throughout that whole situation was that when the director told me all these things, like it's too harsh to sack someone that's racist, etc., I actually made a complaint about the director, because I was not happy that this person had been rehired, and B, I'm now concerned that we have someone in a senior high-ranking position that enables racist, misogynist and sexist. So I made a complaint, and that was in July 24. And a couple of months go by and I'm getting ping-ponged by the grievance team and the DPS and the professional standards. No one knows how to deal with it. Everyone's saying, sorry, you must understand how uncomfortable this is. You're complaining about our boss. We don't know how to deal with that. We don't know how to hold our boss accountable. And I would say to all of them, like, is it not just simple? Like, no one is above, like, surely you just follow the same procedure as you would for anyone who's involved in misconduct. But anyway, it was ping-ponged, and I finally got clarification that the professional standards department would deal with it, and they deemed it so serious, the comments the director made in his rationale, that they would escalate it to a deputy assistant commissioner, which is like 2 from the top, from the commissioner, and he would look at the whole situation and see what he would think. it's about 3-4 months went by and I heard nothing. So I thought, let me just make sure it's not gone into like a make-believe pigeonhole that's just actually a dustbin. So I went to the Deputy Assistant Commissioner's office myself by email. I contacted them and I said, like, what's going on? I've heard that you're reviewing my report. I've got confirmation that you've received it and you're reviewing it. And they emailed me back and said, I don't know who you are. Nothing's been passed to us. I don't know what you're talking about. So I'd found out that no one had acted on my concerns for 5 months, and that my report had just been buried because the person I'd reported was the boss of everyone else. So yeah, I mean, that when I found that out, that I'd basically just been like just ignored and had my concerns buried. Like, I don't know why, but it just literally triggered like an absolute breakdown. Like I was going to work crying my eyes out. I couldn't understand why I was going to work pretending to help people when I know that the force keeps people that we're going out and arresting. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I felt really fraudulent. And I remember even one day on my way to work, I was crying my eyes out driving my car. And like I nearly swerved and crashed. And I remember just thinking, oh, maybe I should just do it again because like, what is the point in all of this? And I ended up getting to work and I just had the worst breakdown. And they had to get people to come and calm me down. And I was so mentally unwell and so triggered. I kept saying to them, please, I can't dispatch on live channels. Like, I can't be in charge of officer safety or public safety. It's actually dangerous. Like, I'm gonna like have a panic attack. I need to walk out. Like, I can't take any sick time because like I'll just get in trouble. So I need to do a low risk role. And they said, fine. And I went to a psychiatrist through the occupational health and they were like, yes, you've got post-trauma. You need to be on a low risk role. So fine. And then because of staff shortages, they kept putting me on live incidents and it was getting to the point where it was becoming dangerous. They were putting me, someone who was mentally unstable, like there were points where I was like, I might just go to the top roof and just jump off because and how ironic would that be that I've jumped off a work building and just landed right outside. They were putting me and my mindset in charge of officers and the public knowingly just because they're short-staffed. And so that was the point and I left because they were now risking public safety even more. I left because it was just everything but what I signed up to do and what I signed up to be. And the person that I went in to the police and the person that came out were completely, I came out a shell and I went in someone excited and looking forward to growing and helping the community. And I left with like nothing of myself. And I now have no trust in authority or systems or institutions. I have no trust in the police. I have no trust in anything, really. And that sounds dramatic, but if the police can't even do their basic job or even look after me, an employee, then I have no hope for anyone else. Well, I was always going to, because a couple of months before I left, I started speaking out on social media, but I would get sort of gentle threats of, if you name that it's the Met that's doing this online, you can get sacked for gross misconduct. Because it goes against their policies where you can't speak out or put the company in disrepute. So I really sort of consciously made an effort that when I spoke out about my work situation, and they were hiding my concerns and things like that, I'd always say I work in emergency services to sort of avoid, and luckily actually that did actually work. I didn't get in trouble. But yeah, after they kept putting me back on live incidents, even though I was insane, I just knew I'm going to leave and I'm going to name it, because it's and that the thing that my situation is not even the worst that goes on. There's much other more dangerous, worse cases that are going on in the Met where they're knowingly putting people at risk. But I can't not tell people, it's the police affect everyone. Like, everyone needs the police at some point, or everyone could need the police. So I wouldn't be able to live my life not talking about it. And then the person I originally reported, like, there's a documentary in a few years because he's done this, or, you know, I just can't live with myself if I don't, you know, tell people. And also, I guess I wanted to speak out because I'm so angry that there's no accountability in the institutions that are supposed to help and protect us. Like, they're holding us accountable as the public, but who's actually holding them accountable? And I don't know, since leaving, I've just realised that these stupid fake labels of police, government, you know, all these organisations that people look to and feel safe by having are just stupid cardboard cutouts that are just people behind them that, you know, are just exempt from, you know, even like Grenfell, you know, there's no accountability, and people can hide behind organisations, titles, and it's not acceptable. They're all humans that make up these companies and these services. And it just infuriates me that tragedies can happen, but it's like, oh, organisational failure, sorry, it's a learning curve, or, you know, we'll take reflective learning on this. I'm not having it. And I guess in the wake of Sarah Everard, I mean, I suppose I joined just before, and sort of I was working through that. And that was really difficult. I felt embarrassed. I felt mortified to sort of be a part of the police. But I thought, oh, I'll just, you know, continue doing my bit to make the police better. And then when I had my experience, I just thought, what I've witnessed and what I've reported is literally the building blocks of what happened with Wayne Couzens. And the force have ignored that, and they're telling the public that they're not ignoring it and they're taking it seriously. And I know that's a lie. How could I not tell people that? Yeah, but then maybe it goes back to childhood. I've always been quite vocal. So maybe I guess maybe I want to help protect people. And if that's by telling them that the services that are there, that are supposed to, aren't, I'm going to say it. And I've got loads of backlash and loads of hate a lot of hate from police, a lot of hate from men, but there's a bigger picture. I'll still keep talking about it. Well, I mean, I always see them online being published. I've even before I left and was a whistleblower, I always used to look at the misconduct pages on our intranet. But yeah, I mean, they're daily. They're coming out. I mean, even one. Well, I posted about it yesterday, but I think it's in the last couple of months. The misconduct hearing of a PC grooming girls all over the world, like hundreds of thousands of pages of evidence. He resigned whilst he was being investigated, so protects his pension. They would have sacked him if he was still an officer, and any criminal investigation has been deemed insufficient evidence. But there's, you know, it's just, there's so much negligence. I always talk about him, but PC Vicente from the Met Police, who sent unsolicited dick pics to other female officers and repeatedly engaged in trying to kiss them and trying to be with in relationships, even though they said no. But because he cyber flashed before it was in legislation that it was a crime, even though it goes against policing ethics anyway, and because it was in a private WhatsApp where he'd send these dick pics to officers, they deemed the harm as low, and that because the public didn't know that it was low harm, so he only got a warning. So you literally have an officer going out to jobs, vulnerable victims, sexual assault victims, any type of victim, who cyber flashes, which is a crime, and doesn't know the boundaries of consent and when no means no. There's worse, there's less worse, but it's daily, and it's not only the Met, it's many police forces, and it's all down to insufficient legislation with multiple loopholes, guidance from the Home Office, which is absolutely so archaic and just old-fashioned and clearly written by people who are not involved in policing, You know, even the main part of guidance that they give to misconduct panels is to consider the reputation over the punishment of the officer. So if your main focus is the reputation of the police force, rather than the punishment or the sanction or the consequences of the officer, it's so backwards, because, you know, you just have things like PC Vicente, who cyberflashes and commits these harmful crimes that have been proven to escalate into serious sexual violence, cyberflashing, but because the reputation is still protected because it's not very publicly known, he just is enabled to carry on. It's just terrible. It's really terrible. But I don't know. It's just such a mess. I think there's two things that are seriously misunderstood. I think society don't understand the significant power police staff have. People like to just think that police officers do because I guess they can arrest you and take away your civil liberty, but police staff can have significant input into your cases. I mean, a lot of people who have the end say of what goes on in a borough, if police are going to respond to your call or not, are police staff. They can just close down your report, they can cancel it, you won't get police, it won't be a crime, they've just closed it. They have access to your information, to heavily sensitive intelligence. They can close calls down, you know, not pass calls to anyone so no one knows about it. People just like to put the onus on officers, but by doing that, you're letting what's the word? By focusing only on officers and holding them to account, you're enabling police staff to get away with stuff that's as, if not more, damaging to society. Police officers who respond to calls are being told to by a control centre full of police staff. So I wish people would stop putting the onus and the blame on officers, because most of the time it's not them. So that's one. I was going to say another one, but I completely forgot it now. But I mean, the police. Oh yeah. So I mean, the other thing that I think, but I guess why would people know? But I guess stemming from putting the blame on officers, I guess they're frontlining. I guess they're front of house, so it's easy to put the blame on people that you're seeing out and about from the police. But people don't understand that the boys in the suits at the top in these high-ranking roles who are making these critical decisions on how policing works, what's getting funded, they are the reason for the institutionalized misogyny and sexism and racism. It's not that the everyday officer who works hard and gets up and does an 18-hour shift, you know, that they're all Wayne cousins or pigs or whatever names you want to call them. It's people are not focusing on the real threats, which are up in suits, up in the offices, who are running the organisation. My qualms are not with hardworking, decent frontline officers on the ground. I'm so grateful for them. It's a very tough job. My qualms are with senior leadership teams, and, you know, I'm going to say men, because there's not many women who've been, you know, if you look at the statistics and the graphs released by the Met, there's fewer and fewer women the higher you get. But my qualms are with senior leaders. When you get past inspector, that's when the assholes sort of start to show. So, you know, I feel sorry for officers. I think that's another one, you know, that police staff are significant, and stop focusing on the officers and start focusing on the boys in suits who are making those damning decisions. There's no accountability in the system, because the mechanisms and the department's professional standards, DPS, that are supposed to hold, you know, officers accountable, it's internal, and internal isn't fair. You can't have officers investigating officers. There is no accountability in policing. Might be a bit of it in the lower ranks, you know, when you're a new officer or a new staff member and, you know, you've got your line manager to answer to, but the higher you get, it just goes. There's no accountability. There is, I just don't understand why society is not up in arms about the fact that all public services, I guess, it's not just policing, but policing, it's particularly scary to think that they are left to investigate themselves. Like, how, that's not accountability. Someone, you know, came to me and said, oh, you know, I want to make a complaint about you. All right, yeah, I'll deal with that. And I said, oh, come on, like, what? It just, why society has just let this happen, I have no idea, but there's no accountability in policing. The only way to support whistleblowers is to, it's not really for the public to support whistleblowers, apart from show appreciation when they do speak out and just, you know, try and steer away from that narrative of being a snitch and a grass. It's really for the people within the organisation of which the whistleblower is blowing the whistle to support them. A lot of times people don't want to speak out because they're scared of retaliation from the people they work with. That culture needs to go. I feel like the public are grateful for whistleblowers, but I feel like the people who have come from that institution or that particular organisation are not, because I suppose you're attacking their part of their identity, who they work for. Especially in policing, there is a complete defensiveness whenever you criticise policing, but I'm criticising policing to be productive, to make positive change. I'm not criticising it just because I want to, you know, I want to make it a better force. But I suppose my wish would be that, I don't really know. I mean, I feel like, I hope after, I mean, it will take some time, but I just want society to, or the public to, and I'm conscious that it could be quite dangerous to put out there, but I always say, like, power is only powerful if you bow to it. And we have to make sure who we have in power and what we have in power is genuine and trustworthy and honest, and it's not. So I don't really know, like I just say, it's a big hot mess really, but to support whistleblowers, encourage people to speak out, because at the end of the day, you're going to benefit from it, and no one is going to, change doesn't come from silence. Change comes from brave people speaking out, and people who speak out lose a lot, so it's not just for fun and games. But I think the culture within the organisations needs to change. It's not about the public supporting whistleblowers, it's about the people from the organisation that they come from being annoyed or hateful that they've spoken out against, you know, their organisation. Especially in policing, you know, you've got a lot of old officers. How dare you speak out against, you know, we've given 30 years, it's a hard job, you don't understand what it's like, we've got a bond. Have you ever gone and arrested a thug or whatever yourself? You know, trying to discredit my criticisms or my experience just because I've not been a frontline officer. You know, just all these things, and it's just not productive. I mean, I don't know. And I always say to anyone that says to me, well, you've never been a frontline officer, so how can you criticise the police? Well, you need to speak to the boys in suits, because a lot of them have just transferred straight from other departments. I mean, the director of my department, who controls Met Control and Command, which is all frontline, he came straight from pensions, never served a day as an officer. So I just wish people would stop directing that to me. And you don't always have to have, sometimes it's helpful to I guess there's pros and cons. I guess you want someone who's had experience to be in a role that's directing, but also I suppose maybe it's good to come in as an outsider. But yeah, you know, you've never had a health secretary in the government that's been a doctor. So, you know, if you're gonna be annoyed at me for calling out police, even though I've not been an officer, well, you need to take that to a lot of other places as well, because that's unfortunately how society runs. You have people in jobs that have not got any experience. When you say grounded, like, what do you mean? Because I feel like this whole experience that I've experienced has grounded me. Because before, when I look back to my beliefs and my view of society, like when I look back now, I just think my head was in the clouds. I just believed what, I don't want to like slip into like some strange conspiracy lady, because that's not who I want to be. But just from my experiences, that my head was in the clouds and I had too much faith in other people and too much faith in organizations. And I forgot that actually these organizations are made from people. And it's not healthy, I know, but I think people are fickle, and I think people are untrustworthy, can be untrustworthy. And I shouldn't, personally for me, and I think the same for society, I don't know why we've placed so much trust in organizations built of people we don't know. So yeah, I feel like my head was in the clouds, and I feel like this whole experience has grounded me anyway. And I don't know, I just feel like this whole thing has made me realize. And I don't want to become like a nutter, or maybe not nutter, but I feel like I'm experiencing all these things, or I'm telling myself I'm experiencing all these things because I feel like maybe I'm supposed to, like, I've never had successful relationships. I don't particularly want children. So maybe I'm supposed to just be here and call out. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm supposed to experience these things to call out where it's wrong, and maybe I'm supposed to try and make positive change for society. Maybe that's my path. It certainly explains a lot why I haven't progressed as a normal 30-year-old woman would. So I guess the whole thing has grounded me and made me realize maybe, you know, when in the last 5 years, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a partner, or like I'm dating people and they're just like crap, and I don't have children, and then like I'm just going to be old and lonely and an old spinster. But then now I'm like, this all happened, and I'm like, oh, maybe I just have the guts to stand up and speak out. And it's lucky I don't have all these things that most 30-year-old women do, because I don't have much to lose. So I am the perfect person for it. So yeah, I guess this whole thing has grounded me anyway. But then I don't want to. I'm conscious of getting like, not delusional, but like having too much self-belief. Like, I don't want to have so much self-belief that I feel like I can change the world and make it so amazing and make everyone feel happy and safe. And I'm learning. Like you said before, I'm connecting the dots with my childhood, and instead of just being like, oh, I wonder why I'm so anxious and I bite my nails all the time, all these experiences are slowly coming together to make me understand who I am, and I'm able to grow. Now I know that these things all interlink, and this is why I'm like that. And I guess like when I get people online reach out to me, and people who are still serving in the police or NHS or fire that email me with their stories, and they're scared and they don't know what to do, and I'm glad they came across mine. I guess that's given me like some hope that maybe it's not just me, and it actually is a problem. And I'm glad like what I'm doing is, like with my organisation and stuff like that, is attracting more people to have a bit more faith and to just take the plunge and speak out. But nothing's restored my like trust in society. No. And yeah, nothing will until drastic change is made. And I think that involves taking away internal professional standards from public services, so it's more fair. And until drastic and radical things change like that, I don't trust any of the systems. But I'm glad that I'm helping other people. That's a nice thing for me, because it's so isolating. So to know I can just support other people when they feel like no one else like understands, I get it. Like, so that's really nice. I'm not finding accountability anywhere, so maybe I can just be like a human lump of accountability, maybe just prodding along to services and just saying, come on, like, you've done this, like, are you gonna own up? Because I don't know, Grenfell haunts me, and you know, so many misconduct cases in the police haunt me, and the grooming gang scandal haunts me, maternity scandals, like just so many things that are still have victims that just have no justice just because it's from an organisation just haunts me, and I'm just literally going to change that because I'm not having it. It's just unacceptable. And then just even like the fact that there's so many buildings out there that have the same cladding. And I was in a tower block about a year ago and then had to move home because obviously no money now. I'm just like broke as hell. And I went back the other day after the Grenfell documentary came out and I was thinking, oh God, like, I don't even want to know. But then I Googled it and the one that I was in had that cladding. And I just think this is so unacceptable. Like, oh, just society. And I don't want to be miserable because then I just feel like, if everything in society is bad, then what's the point? But it's just shocking. Like, so many people are, and I think there was a really bad fire yesterday or the day before in Woolworth, but I don't know if that was to do with cladding. But oh, it's just, yeah, Grenfell really, really, really haunts me. And yeah, stick a green love heart on it and think it's all better. And you've got, all these people in these construction and cladding and council that are just trotting along like no, go to prison, do some prison time. There should be, is corporate manslaughter not a thing here, or is that only America? Where I just feel like, the people who made those decisions about getting the cheap cladding over the safe one, go to prison. You've contributed to death, so you need to serve the time. Well, firstly, I understand why people don't speak up, especially people with families and mortgages and certain things they need to keep secure. But you have to speak out. I, you, People go through life, as long as their immediate life is fine, people seem to not care about the outside noise. But the thing is, when you're whistleblowing about a public service, or if you've seen wrongdoing in a public service, if you don't speak up, that will come to bite you back on the arse because you're not exempt from needing that public service. And we all have a duty of care as humans to look after each other and to make sure that everyone can be as safe as they can be. And if you're just going to go through life closing your eyes and not speaking up, I mean, maybe I'm very stubborn in my point of view, but I just believe that my message is you have to speak out. And also, yeah, I've lost my home, I've lost my car, I've lost my belongings, I've had to sell all my stuff. I live with my mum in literally like half a room that's off her room. I have no independence anymore. I now have an autoimmune disease because of all the stress. Yes, I've lost a lot, but I can live with myself and I can know that I've possibly contributed to something terrible not happening. I could have stayed and I could have carried on and I could have kept my money, kept my car, got promoted or whatever. But I can't personally live with myself like that. So my message, yeah, just speak out. It's not that bad. If you're genuine and if you really have concerns and you go through all ways you can first. So like I went through every internal avenue at my organisation. I gave them 1.5 years to act on it. They didn't. If you feel like you're not being heard by your organisation, it's perfectly okay to go to the media or go online or go to the people and tell them what's going on. Yes, some people disagree or they'll give you hate, but it's fine. I'm still here. Like I've just warned a few more people about what's going on and all the better for it. So I would just, but I do understand if people have ties, they don't want to lose their job. I do get that. But if you've got nothing to lose, like I didn't, you have no excuse. But yeah, I mean, I suppose I don't have any constructive advice because it's such a delicate and tricky situation. But I hope that everyone will speak out. I hope. Because, yeah, change doesn't come from silence. When all is said and done, and or when I'm lying in my coffin or wherever, I want like my last moments to be like, I literally did everything I can to make this place better for people who are the next generation, or, you know, I don't want to like die knowing that I just kept my own life okay and all these injustices are going around. But yeah, there are difficulties along the way, losing homes and, you know, but I feel like, for example, if I supported my whole family on my own and something like this was happening and I spoke to them and I told them that this is going on, I can't stay silent, there's always a way. You know, you can leave. You can, before you even speak out, you can get another job, try and get another job, or try and work it out. And then there's always a way to speak out. And if you do it carefully and you give it thought and you have a safety plan, anyone can do it. So I don't know if I think there ever is an acceptable excuse not to. You have to be really brave, but then like, I don't know, since I've experienced all this, like fear is like, it like doesn't exist to me anymore. Like I'm literally not scared of anything. I think fear is just, fear doesn't have to exist. Like it's up in your own mental, and it's being forced upon you by something external or someone external. I'm literally not scared of anyone. I'm scared of a crocodile, but I'm not scared of. I don't have any fear anymore of any social consequence or any society or people or organizations or police or law. I'm not scared. Like, we're all people on this planet. What are you going to do? Which I don't know if that's dangerous, and I don't know for me, and I don't know if that's silly for me. Obviously, like, I suppose maybe we should all have a little bit of fear to stay in line, but I don't want to stay in line if the line is going the wrong way. I want to be on the right line, not a wonky, weird and wrong line, so if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just like, I just don't care anymore. Like, I'll just say what I think and what's true, and that's it. And if you want to shove me in prison, fine, I'll shove me in prison, feed me 3 meals a day. And yeah, I just don't, all this social boundaries and social concepts, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Like, we're all on this planet. Just be nice, make it nice, stand up for what's right, and let's all just try and make the world better and stop feeding into this stupid. And I don't want to go into the conspiracy thing, but like, you know, I'm not going to live my life being told things. I'm going to experience them and learn them myself. Oh, there's so many things. I don't want to, like, I have lovely siblings. I have a lovely mum. I have lovely grandparents, and I have lovely pets, and I'm like as healthy as I can be, and I'm helping people, and I'm free. So like, I know it sounds really dramatic, but the idea that I'm not trapped in an institution and that I'm just like free to say, I can just speak freely, and not be like consumed in this rat race, that's brought me joy. I'm just, yeah, but I have so many great things. But I've lost a lot, but no, all the things that matter have stayed, and all the things that haven't mattered have gone. So I have only gained. It's just a bit of a rocky ride. Well, I'll try and make a go of my organisation. I've got some volunteers now. We're just waiting for funding, so hopefully we want to give some workshops to employers and not whistleblowers, employers and employees about whistleblowing, because obviously they don't teach you about it because they don't want you to. I think it should be mandatory that all public services give a whistleblowing workshop to their employees, because to deprive people of the tools to speak out, you're quite literally silencing employees. I really feel like something big is coming. I really feel like there is a change, there's a shift. People are sick of the, you know, Labour Conservative race all the time. We're getting new parties come in. I feel like society is shifting. I feel like, I don't know, I don't know. I feel like I could achieve what I want to, and I don't know, I feel like, I don't know how, but I'm going to make society see that power doesn't always have our intentions at heart, our best intentions at heart. So I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. I didn't think I could before, but I wanted to, but I've realised that, and everyone tells you this and you just think, yeah, self-belief is so important. And maybe it does go into delusion, but when I've really believed in myself in certain things, I've made them happen in the last 6 months. So yeah, I think I know I will make change.